Perfecto. I'm small, so yeah. Primero, buenos días a todos y todas. Es un gran placer estar aquí y tener la oportunidad para darles una actualización del proyecto Trión, el primer desarrollo en aguas muy profundas en México y en el estado de Tamaulipas. Quiero agradecer al secretario de Desarrollo Energético, Walter Jiménez, y el gobernador por la invitación y esta oportunidad. Como saben, mi español no es bueno, entonces voy a presentar en inglés. Lo siento. Next, please. Okay, so, hello? Working? No, no. Oops, sorry. Okay, it's working now? No? It's verde, yeah. Okay. So my presentation will be in 3 parts. So I will give you a bit of background about Trión. I will talk about a bit the journey, how we get where we are today, and what we're going to do for the next couple of years. So, like many of you may know, this field, El Campo de Trión, was discovered by Pemex in 2012. It's a big field. It's about 500 million barrels of oil equivalent in a reservoir, so it's quite significant for development. And in March 2017, we went into a partnership with Pemex, where Woodside became the operator. We are 60% equity in this development, and Pemex, our partner, is 40%. In 2017, we embarked into a minimum work program, so we had a commitment with the government and CNH at the time to drill 2 wells. So one was for exploration, one for appraisal. We ended up actually drilling 2 appraisal wells just to confirm that we had a good reservoir and Trión could actually be a development for Mexico and for the country. So in long story short, I'll go back to the background a bit later. In 2023, after a long journey, we finally made a final investment decision where Pemex and Woodside decided to sanction the project, and we got authorization to spend $7.2 billion to make it happen. So we are on track for first production in 2028. The field will be designed for like 100,000 barrels of oil per day. And I think what's important for us, we're going to be supporting the Mexico energy plan. And as you know, Mexico is trying to increase the production. I think like Trión will be a significant contributor to this increase in daily production. So you can see on the pictures, we've been supported by many, many people, so the journey. So Secretary of Energy, like Pemex, we got an office in Tampico, Pemex CEO, and many, many others, ASEA, and so on. So the support from the key stakeholders is absolutely crucial for us to be able to move forward. Okay, next. Okay, so obviously, 7.2 billion is not something that you can get like every day. You have to go to a board of directors, and when you tell them, I need 7.2, the first question they ask you, today? No. Yes, it's today, because we are ready to go. So we had to do a lot of work to de-risk it. We did 6 or 7 years of study work. But the first thing that's very important for us is to understand what's in the ground. So like I said, Trión is a very good field. That's it's quite reassuring. But we had to appraise it to make sure actually that we could actually recover the reserve. You can see on the picture right here, water depth 2.5, 2.6 kilometers. It's ultra deep water. I think we said many times, Trión is the 3rd deepest development in the world. Then we look at the reservoir characteristic. So we can see we've got 2 bands. We got the upper reservoir and the lower reservoir. We call it the sand 150 and 350. So we need to extract and low temperature. So how do we get actually the oil up there at 2.5 kilometers, knowing that drilling probably a few more kilometers? So we had to look at all this study work, and we ended up with a concept where we say we need to inject water and gas into the reservoir to maximize the recovery. So that was a big factor for us to come up with a concept. Then Trión, El Campo de Trión, there's nothing there. We are the first deep water development in the region. There was no development, so where do we get the product? We got gas, oil, and water. So like I said, for the gas, we decided to inject most of it into the reservoir, and some will be exported to an existing offshore pipeline, the TCE pipeline of the coast of Mexico. And then for oil, we looked at it, where does it to go? And we look at multiple routes to market because the crude is quite acidic and so on. It cannot go anywhere. So we look at, okay, maybe the US, not a good idea, or international. So we look at many options for this one. And as well, we look at the infrastructure. Okay, so how do we build this, or how do we build up our subsea infrastructure with all the wells? The reservoir is quite scattered, so we needed actually quite a few drill centers, as we call it, to be able to maximize the recovery. So for us, assurance on recovery factor, number of wells, maximizing the production was our key for selecting the concept. So we can go to the next one. Next. So in 2019, we finally made the decision about the concept. And a lot of people are asking, why did we select this concept? Well, you got 24 subsea wells actually connected to a semi-submersible platform for processing the product, connected to an FSO. A lot of people have been asking me and our corporation, why is it not an FPSO? One vessel that can actually process the fluid and store the fluid. Because of the location of the field, Trión, this FPSO will have to be disconnectable, where it could sail away when storms are coming into the region. And I know like Tampico is protected by the aliens, but we have to plan for the worst, so we need to move it out. And if we had kept the FPSO concept, this turret, the disconnectable buoy over there, would have been the biggest ever built in the world. And we were not ready to go into this journey. It was too much risk for us, for Pemex, so we decided to go with this decouple concept where we got a semi-submersible and FSO. So you can see the metrics. It's 100,000 of oil per day, so it's quite significant. We could flex it. We'll see it later. The gas it's a lot of gas as well, 145 million scf per day. Most of it will be re-injected into the reservoir again for increasing recovery. Water injection, so it's not simple water. The water that we inject into the reservoir is treated. We go to the micron level to make sure we don't damage the formation and the rocks, and we don't swell the clay. So, and you can see the capacity is about 140,000 barrels of water per day. It's quite a lot, and it's increasing actually the size of the facility. And then we made a decision. We say as a company, we are an aspiration to go to net zero by 2050. So how do we minimize the footprint? So we said, okay, in other facility we've built before, we had gas turbine generation, so that creates a lot of emission and so on. So we made a conscious decision to go fully electric on this facility. So we have to generate about 60 megawatts of power, which is quite significant, but we thought it would be the best way to get to a good carbon emission. So our carbon emission for the facility is about 11.8 kilograms of CO2 equivalent per barrel, which is way below the benchmark for deep water development. Then we look at the FSO. We look at multiple options. We selected the Suez Max. It's about 1 million barrels of storage. We look at the VLCC, would have been 1.5. But we said, okay, it's too much investment. We couldn't afford it, so we stay with this size for the FPSO. And this one, like the FPSO would have been, is actually disconnectable, and it's actually done by a company called SBM. They are in this forum, or this a congress this week, and you can see they are in an exhibition all over there, and they are the specialized company for this kind of equipment. The subsea is quite complex. We will like to have less drill centers, so we got 11 to 12 drill centers where we drill 1 or 2 wells at each location for either oil producers, gas injector, or water injectors. But it's very scattered. So all these wells are connected to this, we call 1-slot, 2-slot manifold. Then they are connected to a central manifold, this big yellow stuff in the middle, and then it's connected up here to the FPU. That's for where we separate the oil, gas, and water before we send the oil to the FSO for being sold. So it's it's very complex. Once again, it's 2.5 kilometers of water depth. I mean, it's a lot of technology that needs to be applied to be able to deliver this project. So I say it many times. I met with Carlos a couple of weeks ago, and the complexity of this development is sometimes underestimated, around the world. Why it takes so long to go to first production? Yeah, from 2017 maybe to 28, it's about 10 years. But that's why. because it's super complex. Okay, next. So to be able, after defining the concept, you know, what's, okay, us, we are Woodside, we are an operator, an oil company, same for Pemex. How are we going to be building it? What's the execution plan? Okay, it doesn't happen by miracle. That's, you know, you can just build it and install it and it's going to be okay. Now we need capabilities and capacity and expertise from many, many companies. So you can see all of them. They are global international companies. Some are from Mexico. So SEASA, we work with them. They are in the region. They're going to be supporting our drilling operation. Halliburton, Schlumberger, William is right there. So Transocean, they're going to be bringing a rig coming next year. Sorry. So you can see, as for the target, we're going to be starting this 24-well campaign like early next year. So that's a big, big milestone for the development, for the project. I think a campaign of this size in Mexico is probably one of a kind. So we're quite excited, you know, bringing the rig and working with the multiple companies to be able to drill this well. Then on the SURF and the GGL, which is a pipeline connected to the other pipeline, we work with many companies, international companies, so Trendsetter, Oceaneering, OneSubsea, Technip FMC, and Teneris for the pipe. They are a Mexican company. And we've got two other companies, Allsea and Subsea 7, who've been doing work in Mexico, and they're going to be responsible for the installation. So a big piece of work there, and I'll talk more about it later. FPU, which is a floating production unit, platform is super important. So it's being built in Asia, like in Korea right now, by Hyundai Heavy Industry. So a lot of questions are asking the question, you know, why did we go to Asia and not build it in Mexico? Because this facility is so big, it's about 50,000 metric tons, that there is no capabilities, you know, in this region for building it. We need a dry dock. We need super heavy crane to do it. And the only location is like in Asia. So even for project in the US, you know, they are being built on the other side of the world, unfortunately. So we work also with Baker Hughes for the machine, so like a power generation turbine, compressors. Right now, it's a big challenge for the industry because it takes very, very long time to get this machine, you know, delivered. Sometimes it could be 2 years, 3 years. So we bought them soon enough to be able to fit in our schedule. We work with other companies like SBM for the installation of the FPU and FSO. It's going to be an important scope of work. And COSCO Shipping, they're actually a company responsible for taking a fully integrated and commissioned FPU, like from Asia, straight to the Gulf of Mexico. So it's not even floating, it's on the top of it, it's on a deck of a vessel, and it's going to come there. It takes about 70 days to come to Mexico. And when it comes to the FSO, at peak capacity, we're going to be offloading product every 2-3 days. So it's a very, very intensive intensity, I would say, so, or activities. So SBM is actually a specialized company in this kind of activities. So we decided to actually for them to be the owner and the operator of the FSO. So they'll be working on our behalf and PMX, but they're going to be responsible for this activity. So oil will be flowing from the FPU into the FSO, and then they will be responsible for offloading this oil into tankers to get to different markets. Okay, next. So this one is quite important because for us, obviously, we talk a lot about the cost, the schedule, but what's super important is like the safety of the people and the environment. So we cannot deliver this project successfully without a good safety record. Okay, so far I'll talk more about that, but that's our priority number one. Then I've talked about the concept and so on, and the company we're working with. So right now we've got a global footprint. Okay, we've got activities all over the world, in Asia, in Europe, in Mexico, in the US, everywhere. It's quite difficult to manage because how do we stay connected is one of the big challenges for me as a manager of this team. But next year, we are actually merging into Mexico, into Tamaulipas. So we're going to start the drilling once again. We're going to start bringing all this key equipment for the subsea. They're going to be like in a region where they're all going to come here before they go offshore. So people will have a lot of opportunity to look at the magnitude and the size of these structures and piece of equipment. So what's important and what we tell all the people like in Mexico, the time is coming. So we'll need the support from many, many companies like locally to actually help us to execute the back end of our program. Okay, next. So obviously we put targets as a, as a project team. What do we need to achieve? So we started 2017. We pretty much met all the targets until 2024. And then what was the target for 25? So I talk about safety. For us, there is no good success without a good safety record. And protecting the people and the environment is actually crucial for us, for our company. And yes, I mean, I cannot talk enough about this because it's really, really very, very important. We had a lot of milestones, like construction milestone, contractual milestone, and so on. And meeting them is very important because we need to bring confidence so that we can actually deliver a project of this complexity. So we need to prove to Pemex, we need to prove to our stakeholders internally and the key stakeholders in Mexico, in the country, that we can actually deliver what we are promising that we will deliver. It's super important for us. It builds up credibility. Then money. Money is always a problem. Okay, like every project, we've got obviously $7.2 billion approved, but it's a challenge. The supply chain has been disrupted after COVID and so on. So we've seen spike in the price and so on that we need to address. But definitely a big priority for the team is to control the cost. Okay, so I mean, as you know, we share the cost with Pemex, like 60-40. So being a good custodian of the money and the budget is super, super important. Then in Mexico, I mean, we've learned a lot through the environment, as a regulatory environment, we need a lot of permits to be able to progress, to start the activities in the field. So very happy to see that we got our MIA approved by ASEA a couple of weeks ago. But we've got a SASISO pack coming up, and there are many, many other permits, well permit and so on, that need to be obtained over the next couple of years before we start first production. So once again, the support of the key stakeholders at all levels is absolutely crucial. But so far, I cannot thank enough, definitely the support from the key stakeholders, because we've been able to move, and without this permit, I would be very, very difficult. Then we meet with a lot of people in Mexico, and people, as we know, are very interested by this project, and they want to be successful. So, keeping them, obviously informed of what's happening, why we take some decision, how we're progressing, is actually important as well. And we need to get ready for the operation next year, 2026. You're going to see, once again, a lot of vessel and heavy transportation vessel, and installation vessel coming to the region. They are very big. So we need to get ready, make sure we got the infrastructure, we got everything we need, so we can be very efficient in this operation phase, because it goes back to the money. If we are not, we're going to be spending a lot of money that we haven't got for this development. So keeping the safe and efficient operation is actually a key priority for me and my team. And once again, the center of gravity moving to Mexico is something we are quite proud of. Okay, next. So this one, I'd like to show these pictures. We put it a couple of years ago, but it was really I would say, a testament for many people for understanding why it takes so long to develop and get to first production for a deep water development. I mean, this FPU, and I think it's much more complex than what you can see on the picture, is actually, once again, 50,000 metric tons. Okay, so that's probably the biggest that you'll see in Mexico. So people didn't really understand why it took so long, to develop Trión. And when we put in perspective and we actually show, the FPU Tlaloc into the stadium, people say, oh yes, that's big. I understand why. And it was for us, and after that, I get less and less questions why we couldn't get to first production very, very early. So now people understand there is a steps in the process, and why we have to take certain decisions, in order, to the right time and with the right quality, so we can actually deliver what we are promising to the business. Next. So now I'll go into more of where we are today. So we've done a lot of work. You can see on the first slide, we were at 43% complete at the end of September, and we are making progress every month. So which is very good, especially for the key stakeholders. The project is not stalling. Every month, we are making progress. We are, and we are getting closer to the finish line. So once again, we have to do it safe, but it's okay. So Tlaloc is the name of the FPU. So that was actually through a competition with Pemex and so on. So we decided to give it a name. Trión is the name of the field. Tlaloc is the name of the FPU. So, and you can see a couple of snapshots of what we did during the design, and to show the complexity as well. We did more than 30 months of engineering. Why? Because this facility, once again, are very complex, and we need to manage the risk. Loss of containment, we cannot afford it. You know, could be a collision with a boat like around the vicinity. How do we make sure our structure is sound and safe so it doesn't sink? Helicopter landing, safe landing has to be there, and process safety and so on. So that's why we spend so much time, you know, with engineering companies and experts in the world to make sure that when we put people on these facilities, it's safe to operate. And you can see, you're going to be hearing us talking a lot about process safety. Okay, we do about safety of the people, keeping people safe. But when we go in this facility and it's oil and gas and water, and it could have an explosion, we have to make sure that it's safe to operate. So a typical, like a feature of the design as well, for the floating structure, the hull, underneath, there is a frame on the top. And this frame is a one of a kind. Okay, so can you believe it's going to be supporting like 20,000 metric tons. And it's just, you can see, it looks like spaghettis. It's not spaghettis, it's big steel. But you know, it's designed in a way to minimize the weight, but it will be able to support all the module, which is quite interesting in my opinion. It's a good piece of work from the team. Okay? Next. So now you can see some pictures of what's going on. So Tlalok is being built in Ulsan. It's a small fishing village like in Korea. So it's pretty much owned by Hyundai. So as you can see, some of the facilities they've got, the dry dock, the big crane that we are actually using for building these facilities. So safety is our priority number one. So we're close to 3 million working hours over there in Korea without a lost time incident, which is very good. For the hull, like you've seen before, like the floating structure, like I would say, by memory, like 14,000 metric tons out of 28 were actually built in China. So we had to work with a company called Costco for the fabrication as well. And you can see they spend more than 1 million working hours safe as well. And then it was in June, it was a big milestone for the project. We started to move actually the block of this floating structure into the dry dock. That's the picture you see on the far right. And you can see some pictures of big block of the hull, you know, like being transported from China, being assembled in a dry dock. You can see the ring, the bottom ring over there in the middle. And then now, I'll show a picture later, it's pretty much done. Okay, you can see fabrication as well of the topside processing module. So you can see we just started like in November of last year, and we are making good progress in this one space. And the bottom picture is actually the living quarters. So we're going to have 72 people offshore that are going to be there to operate the facility. So they're going to be living actually in these beautiful living quarters that you can see at the bottom. Okay, so next. So you can see the progress, you know, like the first slide was to show like when we started, and now look at the top picture where we are. And I was actually in Korea 2 weeks ago, and now you got all the blocks are on top of each other. So this floating structure is actually completed, and will be ready to receive the topside module like early next year. So it's quite a big achievement. It was done in 14, 15 months. So because they've got the capability and the craneage and the dry dock to do it, but you know, it's not an easy feat. And it was very, very good to see the progress that was made by these companies working together, and the engineering as well. So more progress on the topside module. So we got 3 modules. One is called the North module. That's a critical path for the project because you're going to have to lift it, and it goes in the middle. So it's a very, very challenging with the crane. Make sure we are not exceeding the capacity. So controlling the weight of this facility is super important, because if you go overweight, you may be losing stability. The center of gravity is changing, so it's impacting transportation. It's impacting a lot of stuff. So controlling the weight, like the cost, is absolutely crucial for us. And more picture of what's happening with the central module going on, and then the frame I was talking about. So this one is on the ground right now, and are going to be lifted next couple of weeks before the Christmas break. Yeah. So overall, I mean, a good story for the FPU. I mean, it's definitely the critical path for the project. and you can see the fabrication is going as planned. So it's great to be able to show all these pictures of the progress being made over the last year. We started a year ago. Okay, next. So this one are more like so the FSO is called got a name as well. It's Chalchi. So Tlaloc is the FPU. So it's being built right now at Costco in China. So it's in two parts. The DTM, which is a disconnectable buoy, is well advanced, and you can see pictures at the bottom, actually, of what is being built. So this one will be ready middle of next year. We need some anchor pile as well. They are quite big. So we've got is for the subsea equipment, for the mooring line for the FPU and so on. So this one will be coming to Mexico as well, probably next year. And then you can see some of the connectors and chain that are required for the mooring line. So the mooring line on the top left corner are actually a polyester type. So it was to minimize the weight. So you can see how they fabricate it. So they're going to be ready as well sometime next year. So good progress on this side. Next. So more pictures of what's happening in this space. So again, like the link bending for the chain, top connectors for the anchor pile, and you see some of the subsea mooring connectors as well. And you can see the size; it's just a small connector, like we were trying to show you. So this one, the picture, not gonna go spend too much time, but just to show the magnitude and the complexity of the scope of work as well. And then we can see some a diagram in the middle where like how the DTM, the buoy, will be installed like actually like offshore, like sometime next year. So we ended off like from the vessel, and it's going to be sitting like 40 meters below the sea level before we come with all the other type of equipment for installation. And we are working with many companies here in the site, in this region, to prepare for site activities like drilling and receiving the equipment as well. So we're talking about shore base in the region for us and for the contractors. Next. So the subsea equipment are quite interesting. We've got a lot. I talk about like a flexible pipe, Christmas trees, manifold, umbilical, and so on. So all this equipment will be most likely ready like by next year, ahead of the installation. So we're going to have to find a way to preserve them and to store them like in Mexico before they go offshore. But you can see some pictures of the progress. So got Christmas trees over there on the top left corner. They are being built in Malaysia with one subsea. The top side HPU fabrication was done in Norway. Some mud mat were done actually like in Europe, in the US, and some in Mexico. I'll talk more about that later. And you can see like a progress made on the manifold at the bottom, where all the 1 slot, 2 slot are actually ready to be shipped to Mexico in the near future. So it's a very good story. Can go next slide. Now you can see the big stuff. So here it's an umbilical. We've got 12 reels about this size. These reels are 11.2 meter diameter. Okay, just to store one section of this umbilical. So umbilical is critical. It's what's controlling the well. So there's fluid and electrical signal and so on come from the facility to this well, so we can control them safely and we can get the product. Then for the pipe, it's not rigid pipe. The rigid pipe is only like from the central manifold. It's very technical, I know. Central manifold to the facility. But all the pipe on the ground at the seabed will be flexible. So it's being built in France, in Normandy, like a Lotteret, and you can see the size as well. So the reel, same size, 11.2 like a meters diameter, and we're going to have about 12 or 13 of these reels. Overall, for the umbilical, controlling the well, it's about 30 kilometers. Same for the pipe, it's about 30 kilometers. Quite impressive scope of work. And you can see like we completed actually the first testing of the Christmas tree. It's only one of them, you can see on the corner over there, and we're going to have 24 like that. So that's, and the first one will be also coming to this region very, very soon. Okay, next. So we talk a lot about local content. So we got a requirement under the contract, to maximize the local content. So we do work with all the companies we are working with. Like one of them is Oceaneering, and actually they did partner with a company called Melter, like in Monterrey. And very pleased to report that actually this company was the first company in Mexico to actually build a subsea structure. So that was a big undertaking for oceaneering, for us, for Melter, but we got there, and we are very, very proud of it. So now this company, they've been able to deliver 10 structures for Trión, but more importantly, we want them to be able to deliver other structures for other projects around the world, not only in Mexico. So you look at all the challenges, the desafíos, all the beneficios. It's a journey. We know it's a commitment. You know, the deep water capabilities in Mexico doesn't really exist, but we are committed to develop it, you know, ourselves and with the company we are working with. So this is really a good success story. We are once again very, very proud of it, and I think you can see the Mexican flag on the structure. The team over there in Monterrey, they were absolutely super happy to achieve that. I mean, just the welding is so different for the subsea equipment and so on, because these things are going to be in the water for 27 years. Okay, so we cannot just afford to go and just replace it. You need a boat. It takes money, time and money to come and fix it. So this one has to be very, very done well, good quality. Even the painting is quite a challenge. So I think we can be all very proud of this achievement. Next. So for us, like I said, we want to talk about a bit of technology, because we've got fabrication like all over the world in many, many countries. And for us, it means a lot of time in a plane. We have to go and inspect this equipment. So in fact, we use like a technology called HoloLens, where we actually can do remote inspection of equipment from our desk. So we overlay pretty much like a 3D model on the top of what's being built at the shop. And then we can see clashes. Thing is not being like built right and so on. So we've been able to save a tremendous amount of time in travel and money. We still have to go and inspect the equipment on the back end, you know, to make sure it's correct before it's being shipped. But being able to do remotely, use this technology to increase our efficiency and so on is absolutely phenomenal. I'm a bit old, so I didn't believe in it. But when you look at it, it's so, so beneficial. And being able to do it remotely like that has been a game changer for us. So it's very, very good. And as people interested, you know, can come to our office. We can show you how it's work. It's we use goggles. It's quite futurist a little bit, but it's quite phenomenal. Okay, next. So obviously, we're here to do a job. Our job is to deliver the project, you know, like safely, like on cost, on budget, make sure we can extract the product and so on. You know, that will create a lot of benefits, like for us, for Pemex, and for the country. But we cannot do it without a social investment. So for us, our social investment in the state, in Mexico, is very important. So we've worked over the last couple of years with multiple associations and stakeholders here to see how can we increase the well-being of the people in the state. How can we create opportunities? So there's only a few of them, but for us, we believe in education. So we invested a lot of time, you know, for young ladies, like in Tech de Monterrey, and I had the pleasure to meet with them a couple of times. They are so brilliant, eager to work, and very, very talented. So I say brilliant already. So being able to give them the opportunity to get access to higher education, and then to be able to work for companies like ours or other companies is very enlightening, and it's something we are very, very supporting, and we continue to do so. You heard the governor yesterday talking about the oyster. Okay, so that's a big program for us, and you can see what we are doing in the marina. I think we're going to be continuing in this space. We think we can make a difference, you know, for the fishermen and fishing industry. So that's something important to us as well. We participate, you know, like in community events. So where can we make a difference? You know, I'm very proud that my team actually participated, like from our own donation to give like food packages to the people in need after the inundation a couple of months. So it was a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago. So it was very enlightening for me to go and meet with the communities, you know, have a chance to talk to them and see that we can actually make a difference in their life. And then there are many, many others. So we've got a commitment to continue our social investment in the country, in the state of Tamaulipas, because we don't believe that we can be successful, you know, delivering Trión only without being a big player in the communities. So that's really, really something that's very important to us. Okay, next. So I'm not going to go to the detail because it's a lot of work, but obviously we talk about the bienes y servicios. So we need to increase the local content, and I think there will be opportunities with us merging the center of gravity of the project into the region. So that's a given there. We just signed last week an MOU with Senam for the calibration of a gas meter. So a lot of companies right now, they have to go to oversee actually to do calibration of gas meter. So we would like to provide the capabilities here like in Mexico, so we can do it in the country. So we're going to be starting the MOU once again last week. We'll be starting to the motion with this project, be funded by Woodside, and it's important. So we work with a lot also with the universities, academies. So we've got actually cadets from the Naval Academy that came and joined us. Like recently, we've got internship. We've got a couple of people in Mexico City. We keep working with our team. So the technical transfer is also a big commitment from Woodside, to make sure we can give back to the community and Mexico. And then we talk about the project 2028, first production. That's good, but it doesn't stop there. Then we need to operate these facilities or this field for 27 years. Hopefully more, because I really hope we'll find more oil in the ground. So that's very important. So we are building up actually a team here in Tampico of operation people. So we're going to be roughly like looking at 80 plus people, to operate the facility, because it's quite complex. So they go on shifts, so it will be double. And you can see what we've done already. So we got, I think, 24 people already hired here in Tampico. And these people, they're going to be trained. They're going to go to Korea, they're going to go to China, they're going to go to Houston, so they can be trained and be fully proficient for starting the operation of these facilities in 2028. So we've got only 24 months left. So the time is now. So we're going to be spending the time to train the people. And the same with SBM. They're going to be operating and owning the FSO. They're going to go through a motion to actually start their operation team and start the training as well, so they can be as good as they can be to offload the product. So this is definitely part of the map for us. It's very, very important. It comes along with the project. Next one, I think. That's the last one. So this one is just the ramp up again. So we started it. So it's very, very important. This team is actually crucial. And our objective is 90% national. So all the people who are recruited are mainly like Mexican. They're going to be trained. And then obviously be supported by people from Houston, from our team. But we want them to be fully trained to operate this facility. We know that Mexico has got a very long history of oil and gas operation. So it's not an issue. So it's just to train them to what's very, very specific to deep water, which is quite specificity. But like opening and turning a valve on a facility onshore, offshore, that's the same. Okay, so that should be cool. There we go. So I think that's it for me. Next. Okay, so just like to close out, I'd like to thank everybody first of all for coming today, and I'd like to thank everybody for the support we get, like day in, day out, for moving this project forward. We understand the importance of it. We are fully committed to deliver it safely, on cost, on budget, for the benefit of the Pemex, like Mexico and Woodside. So we believe that we can make history. That will be the first ultra-deep water development delivered in Mexico, and we are very proud of it. And there's still a long way to go, and more than 24, like 30 months to go, but we are quite excited about it, and I cannot be more proud of where we are today, because once again, these projects are quite difficult. A lot of things could go wrong and still go wrong, but we are where we need to be, and we are actually meeting the target. So, and meeting the target will not be possible without the support of everybody in the room, the industry, and the key stakeholders, like in Mexico. So, thank you very much. Muchas gracias a todos.
A nombre de la Secretaría de Desarrollo Energético, vamos a dar un fuerte aplauso al ingeniero Stefan Drouot y vamos a leer la reseña que, por supuesto, un líder de la talla del ingeniero merece. Él es ingeniero químico por la Universidad de Nantes, Francia, y cuenta con más de 28 años de experiencia en la industria del petróleo y gas, con especialización en proyectos costa afuera y en tierra. Después de 12 años en Technip, se incorporó a BHP en 2006 y actualmente forma parte del equipo de liderazgo de grandes proyectos de Woodside Energy. Desde 2019 es vicepresidente del proyecto Trión, el primer desarrollo petrolero en aguas profundas de México, donde condujo el